morning, good afternoon, dear students. In the last section, we discussed about floor planning. Good morning, good afternoon, dear students. In the last section, we discussed about floor planning, right? So, in the next section, after the floor planning, the next thing is routing. Okay. So, after we have done the placement, then floor planning. Then the next step is the routing problem. Okay. So, in this, it consists of the interconnecting the cells that have been assigned a position. Okay, as a solution of the placement problem, we know in the placement we are just placing this cells, placing these blocks inside a cell. After the placement, we are just planning where we have to place this. Okay, floor planning, where we have to allocate this that thing. Then we have to routing, that is we have to connect the cells or connect the blocks that have been assigned position. Okay, as a solution of this placement problem. So it just consists of interconnecting the cells that have been assigned position as a solution of placement problem. Okay, so mainly this routing problem will consist of um, terminals and the net list. Okay, so the position of the terminals we have to consider. We know if we consider a block means there will be some terminals. So the terminals and the net list, which indicates the terminal, should be interconnected. Okay, that is the net list. Okay, the specification of the routing problem will consist of the position of the terminal and the netlist that indicate which terminal should be interconnect. So this terminal just means the position. Okay, nothing but terminals means if suppose if we take a resistor means there will be two terminal, right? That's terminal. And the netlist that indicates the terminals should be interconnect, that is in the netlist where we have to connect that connection is interconnection is represented by using the netlist. And the area available for routing in each layer, these are the three things when we consider this routing. Okay, we must know the terminals and we must know the netlist and the area available for the routing. Okay, then only if we know the area only we can able to route it properly. Okay, these are the three things we have to consider while routing. So this routing is performed in two stages. Okay, the routing, we can perform this routing in two stages. In the first stage, the two stages, that is global routing or detailed routing. Okay, this global routing means just loose routing. It just determine through which wire channel or connection will run. Okay, just it is a loose routing technique. Okay, just first we have make a plan where we have to connect, how to connect, through which way we connect, that is the loose routing. Okay, then the second stage we call that local or detailed routing. Okay, it fixes the precise path that a wire will take. Okay, it is mainly used to fix the precise path. So in this we are going to discuss about area routing, global routing, channel routing. Okay, so today in this section we are just going to discuss about area routing as well as channel routing. Okay, so the type of the local routing problem. Local routing means okay, detailed routing. Okay, the types of the there are many types of local routing problem. Okay, this local routing problems can be characterized by some of the parameter which is important. Okay, so we are just going through the parameters. The parameters are, the first one is the number of wiring layers. Okay, so this number of wiring layers, it depends on the technology and the design style. Okay, just depends on the technology and the design styles. Okay, so how many layers will be there, that is the main thing when we consider the routing problem. Okay, So in most of the cases only two wiring layers will be there. Okay, in many cases only two wiring layers will be there. Now the recent developments, okay, two wiring layers, there sometimes there will be, we are placing routing in below the layer, then we have to place on the above the layer. If there is a single layer means we can able to route on the top of that is the layer thing. Okay, so in the recent technologies, this two layers can be developed into more number of layers are available. Okay, so here there is one term VR. Okay, this term, that is the contact cut. A contact cut that realize a connection between two layers is often called as via in this contact. Okay, so the first thing is the number of wiring layers, that is the important thing when you note this. And next thing is the orientation of the wire segment. Okay, so in this the orientation, we know for this orientation the horizontal or vertical segments is possible, right? The routing we can use either horizontal or vertical segments in on layer, but not both. Okay, that is the reserved layer models of routing. Okay, the orientation of wire segment is given in layer. Here two segment things are possible, that is a horizontal segment in one layer and vertical segment in another layer. Okay, we cannot able to use both the segment layers in same layer. Okay, sometimes that is the 90-degree thing. Okay, sometimes except this 45-degree orientation is also possible in many cases. Okay, the next thing is grid or gridless routing. Okay, so in the gridded routing, we know why we use okay, that is grid. There will be some blocks will be there, that is called gridder line, that you will study later. In the gridded routing, all wire segments run along a line of an orthogonal grid. Okay, which forms uniform spacing between them. Okay, so. Here there will be orthogonal grids with spacing, uniform spacing between the line. Okay, in gridless routing, wires of we can use the different wire length. Okay, in the gridless routing we can use a similar wire length in all connection, but in gridless routing we can able to use the width of the wire will different. Okay, as well as the contacts are explicitly represented. Next one, the presence and absence of the obstacle. Okay, in routing many cases sometimes there will be some obstacles and sometimes there will be no obstacles. What is obstacles here in this case? In the routing case, the last connection. Okay, last we know that there will be various components inside there, right? So suppose if there is a resistor, capacitor and an inductor, just for an example I am just saying resistor, capacitor and inductor. First we are making a connection from resistor to inductor. Okay, one connection that is we are fixing it. Okay, so we can say that as a obstacle for the next connection what we are going to make. Okay, that is the obstacles here, or the presence or absence of the obstacle. If we are taking the printed circuit board for the first time, there will be no obstacles. Suppose if we make a single connection, after that we can say there will be a obstacle, that is the first connection, we can say it as an obstacle. Okay, then the position of the terminal. The position of the terminal is also important factor in this. That is sometimes the position of this terminals will be on uh, the position of the terminals will be on the boundary of the routing area, but sometimes it will be located anywhere inside the area. Okay, so you know the position will be sometimes fixed or some not fixed, sometimes on the border and sometimes inside the PCB. Okay, though next terminals with a fixed or floating position. Okay, sometimes the position of this is fixed, but in some other case we can able to move, that is the router can able to move the terminals inside a restricted area. The next one, permutability of terminals. Okay, sometimes the router is allowed to interchange the terminal because they are functionally equal. The example is given, two input of the NAND gate are functionally equal. That is, the router can able to interchange the terminals which have the same functionality. That is the permutability of the terminals. The next one is electrically equivalent terminal. Okay, the electrically equivalent terminal means in some cases a group of terminals belonging to the same net. Okay, same net may already be connected to each other. Okay, so suppose if the terminals named 1, or some of the connections we have done it already, and if there is a net 1 remaining means we have to connect with that in a simple manner. Okay, these are the various parameters that we discussed, that we have to consider while we wrote a connection. Okay, so today we are going to see about two routing, that is area routing and channel routing. Okay, so first we are going to discuss about area routing. So here in this area routing, mean if we are taking, hope we all know the printed circuit board. Okay, it will okay, in that we know there will be in that printed circuit board there will be a lot of spaces where we can able to place the components, right? So we here in this routing problem, in which the terminals are allowed anywhere in the area available for the routing, are normally classified as area routing problem, that you would see in this figure. Suppose if we consider this as the suppose if we consider this as the PCB, there will be various spaces inside this, right? So we can able to connect anywhere on that, right? We can place the terminal anywhere on that. That is the area routing problem. Okay, so here for this describing the area routing problem, there is an algorithm called Lee algorithm. Okay, this algorithm is also called as area routing is also called as maze routing or path connection. Okay, okay, this algorithm is published by the scientist named Lee in 1961. Okay, this here we are just using a single wiring line between the connection. Okay, so here in this, just consider this example. In the first terminal, the black dots denotes the empty spaces, we can able to make the connections there. Okay, and the blocks with cross marks just represent the obstacles. Okay, here S is the source terminal and T is the target terminal, that is the where we have to make the connection from S to T, we have to make the connection. Okay, so we have to make the connection from S to T. Also there will be some obstacle, three obstacles here in this diagram. Okay, So this one is the first obstacle. Second, this is the third one. They are the obstacles present in this routing. Okay. So in the first thing, okay, first thing, the figure shows the black dot just shows the empty spaces where we can able to make the connection, and the box with an into mark just shows the obstacle, and there will be a source and terminal position. So we have to find the path from S to T, right? So if there is a path exists, means the algorithm always find the shortest connection going around the obstacles. Okay, from source to T, it will check all the possible connections. Okay, after checking all the possible connection, it will goes around the shortest connection. It will goes around the obstacles also. After going the obstacles, it will just check the which one is the shortest connection. So after it find the shortest possible connection, then they will wire the segments. So that is the thing. In the second figure, B figure, it just shows the possible connection. Okay, so as surrounding the S, we can mark it as in the horizontal manner, and the vertical manner we can mark it as 1. We cannot able to make the we know the orientation here is horizontal and vertical. In rare cases only we are using 45-degree connection. Okay, that is in place of 2 we can mark 1. That is the rare cases. Okay, so most probably in this area routing we cannot able to do that. Here we are just using the horizontal and vertical segments. So in the S, if we consider S in the horizontal segment and vertical segment, we mark it as 1. Okay, so after the 1, what comes 2, then 3, 4. Just go through the figure, you will understand the concept. Okay, then they will check for the connection. Okay, when we make an interconnection between source to terminal, there will be many things we have to understand. Okay, so the connections must be a shortest path, the interconnections must be crosscut will be less. That all thing we have to consider. Okay, so in the third figure, it just shows a possible path. Okay, there will be various possible paths are there, uh, but here in this, from yes, starting from S1, 2, 3, this is the possible path they marked, and there will be another possible path. This is not the possible path. After 10, it goes on to 9, so it is not possible. Then this is the possible path. Okay, but we need one more connections there, so it is also not the best. When we goes on to the next, also there is no other connection possible, right? So in the last figure, they will route it as a, they fix the route. Okay, so if we are going to make the next connection, this this connection act as a obstacle for the next connection. Okay, that is the area routing here. So here the algorithm, okay, here the algorithm is shown in this here is the algorithm. It consists of, okay, the algorithm consists of 3 steps. Okay, what are they? Wave propagation, backtracking, and cleanup. Okay, these are the 3 steps in the algorithm. Okay, in the wave propagation, or okay, wavefront, in that in the first wave propagation we are just marking the values. Okay, 1, 2, 3, similar that we are just marking the value from source to destination. Okay, so the points belonging to the same wavefront receive the same integer value. Okay, points belong to same wavefront. Okay, if we are taking the source point S, and the nearby horizontal and vertical lines take the value of 1, right? So that is the thing. the points belonging to the same wavefront receive the same integer value label, which is increased by 1 for subsequent wavefront. Okay, that we will understand from the figure A. This is shown in the algorithms zone. Okay, this wavefront, okay, this while numbering it, it goes around the obstacles also. We know it's clearly from 9.1b figure. Okay, then in the next case, the next one is the backtracking. After finding the after marking the wavefront, we have to backtrack it. That is, from the target point we have to route it backwards towards the source destination. Then only we get the perfect routing thing. Okay, so in the figure C, on the left side of target, we are just taking the path from the left side of the target, moving towards the S point. That is the thing. Then last one, what about this cleanup? What about the cleanup? This cleanup is nothing but just fixing the position, and it acts as the obstacle for the next one. Okay, that is, once a path has been found, it will act as an obstacle for the next connection to be made. That is the cleanup procedure. So in the algorithm, three procedures are there: wave propagation, then what else, wave propagation, then backtracking, then clean up. Okay, these are the three things we have to discuss in this. So this is the Lee algorithm. This Lee algorithms, in some cases, nowadays in some cases only we are using this algorithm. So next we are going to see about the channel routing. Okay, in this they are discussed about the Lee's algorithm first. It is good in finding the path in the environment with many obstacles. Okay, if there is a number of obstacles, means it is a very good in finding the path. However, it behaves poorly when there are few obstacles. It does not have the capability to choose a good path among many possible paths. Okay, if there is many obstacles, that is many connection, means we know the area will be free area will be reduced, right? At that time we can able to find the path easily, right? So if there is a few obstacles, the low obstacles, means it is very difficult to we can able to find the path, but it will not be proper. It does not have the capability to choose a good path among many possible paths. Okay, so this channel routing occurs as a natural problem in the standard cell and building block layout style, but also in the design of the printed circuit board. This channel routing is also using nowadays for the PCBs. Okay, it consisting of just routing the net across a rectangular channel. This figure shows an instance of a channel routing problem. Okay, here in this figure, it just shows the channel routing problem figure. Okay, here what about this, whether it is a grid routing or gridless routing? It is a gridless routing. Okay, the grid points are not shown and the grid distance is equal to the horizontal separation between the terminals. Okay, here the nets have fixed this net. Okay, so this net have fixed terminals at the top and the bottom side. Okay, fixed terminal as at the uh, top and bottom of the channel, and floating terminal at the open side. Okay, this is the open side. Here this one is 1 comma 3 4 comma 5, that is the floating terminals. Nets that have the floating terminal, that is we can able to change the terminals of that. Okay, that is a floating terminal, are placed at the open side, that is left side and right side. So this floating point terminal is known to enter the channel on the left side or on the right side. So it is this floating points, we know the top side and bottom side is fixed, right? So the left side and right side is free. So the floating points we can able to enter through the left or right side, that the router must decide the exact position of the channel. Okay, so here in this 1,3, this 1,3 and this 4,5 have the floating terminals, floating terminal. Okay, so the main goal of this channel routing is the minimization of height, while a secondary goal is to minimize the total wire length. Okay, so here we have to reduce the height. Okay, we have to reduce the height, this distance, then we have to minimize the total wire length or number of ways. Okay, we know there will be some interconnection between this, so we have to make the minimize the total wire length and number of ways we have to reduce. These are the three goals of the channel routing. What are the three goals of channel routing? That is minimization of the length, then minimization of the total wire length, then minimization of the number of ways. Okay, so here in this we are just going to the on to see another routing problem which is similar to the channel routing problem, that is the switch box routing. Okay, here in this switch box routing, the fixed terminal is found on all the four sides of the rectangular routing area. Okay, the fixed terminals can be found on all four sides of the rectangular routing area. So here in this case, the minimization of the area is the not optimal goal. Okay, not an optimization goal, it is just a decision problem. Just here, what about this switch box routing? Here in this, all four side has the fixed connection. Okay, the main thing is this is just a decision problem. We have to find a solution. If there is a solution exists, means we are going for the goal. Okay, so if there is a solution exists, the secondary goal, first goal is we have to find a solution, and the secondary goal, if a solution is there, we go for the secondary goal just to minimize the total wire length and number of ways. Okay, this is the switch box routing. What about the channel routing? Normally in the channel routing, in the top and the bottom layers are fixed, and right and left we can able to place the floating terminals. Okay, so here in this apart from the switch box routing, another one is this which is similar to that is the switch box routing. Just go through, just have in mind, keep in mind. Okay, switch box routing, here in this the problem is the fixed terminals are found on the four sides. Okay, fixed terminals will be there. So here the first goal is we have to find a solution. So after finding a solution, so after finding a solution, we have to minimize the total wire length and number of ways. Okay, that is the thing we have to discuss. Okay, so then next we are going to see about the channel routing models. So here just we are going to discuss about the channel routing models. Okay, several models can be used for channel routing. So here we are just discussing about the classical model. Okay, in this All wires run along the orthogonal grid lines with uniform separation. Here the wires run along the orthogonal grid line with uniform separation. Okay, just in horizontal or vertical ways, there are two wiring layers. Okay, two layers, right? There will be two wiring layers are there. So we know, when we are wiring this, we have to place one segments in one layer and the another segments in the top next layer, right? So here in this, the horizontal segments are put on one layer and the vertical segments are on the other layer. Okay, that is, here there will be two layers are there, horizontal segments on one layer and the vertical segments on the next layer. All wires are run along the orthogonal grid line with uniform separation. So here, for each net, the wiring is realized by a single horizontal segment with vertical segment connecting it to all terminals of the net. Okay, so the solution using the classical. Okay, in the 9.3, we saw a problem figure for the channel routing. Here in this 9.4, we are just finding a solution for this problem. Okay, here the vertical wire segments, the first wiring layer. Okay, this vertical wire segments in the first wiring layer are shown as horizontal lines, while the horizontal segments in the second layer are shown as dashed line. We know there will be two layers, right? In one layer we are placing vertical segments. So this vertical segments on layer is denoted by solid lines, and the horizontal connection we can say, we can representing as dashed line, that is that we can place on the next line. So there will be many variations are possible here. The routers have been designed for working without grid. Okay, here in this, there will be no grid, so gridless routing is possible. Here with same net, the numbers with same nets are connected together. Okay, the one net is connected in the horizontal using dashed line and vertical using solid line. Similarly, all the terminals are connected in the similar way. Okay, that is the channel routing solution of the channel routing problem. Okay, so we know this one is the gridless routing. That is, what is gridless routing? In the grid routing, they will allows only a particular width of wire for all connection, whereas in gridless routing it allows what, each wire has a specific width. So in some cases they use a 45-degree non-orthogonal grids where 45-degree turns are allowed. Okay, the model for routing where each layer has only wires in one direction is called reserved layer model. Here there is only one other term, reserved layer model. That is the model for routing where each layer has only wires in one direction. Okay, if there is a wire in only one direction, we can say it as a reserved layer model. So many now that is one direction, right? So now many of the algorithms are working with non-reserved layer model that has a larger solution space. Okay, so this figure shows the channel routing problem and non-reserved layer model. That is, in the non-reserved layer models, the two rows are sufficient in this case. Okay, right? So the length is reduced from 3 to 2 in this case. Okay. We know here this one is the length, so the length of the last 9.4 figure is 3 while comparing to this, and that is reduced in this figure. Okay, so what about the difference in this here? The net 2 and 3 have just a simple small separation in between that. Okay, so the next in the figure 9.6, when the routing of net 2 can only have only one horizontal segment, the channel needs 3 rows. Okay, here that's another problem figure. Here we are just going to discuss about the dog legs. Okay, that is here in this. Here just consider the first figure. Here the distance, the length between two sets, okay, two fixed points is 3. So while using dog legs for 2, this is the dog legs. Okay, for 2 we can able to reduce the length to 2. Okay, here the length is reduced to 2. Okay, this is the dog legs. Okay, next thing is vertical constraint graph. Okay, we all know about the constraint graph. So here we are just going to see about the vertical constraint graph. So here we have to consider a terminal located in the same column and entering the channel in the same layer. That is here in this figure. Consider the first figure A 9.7a. The vertical constraint between the interior points P1 and P2 of the terminal segment belonging to net 1 and 2. Okay, and the representation of the constraint graph is shown in the figure. So the first net 1 and 2 is connected, has the endpoints P1 and P2 of the terminals belonging to the net 1 and 2, and the graphical representation is shown in the figure B. Okay, so when we get the vertical constraint, okay, when we have each column having two terminals in the same layer, okay, having two terminals in the same layer, which gives rise to the vertical constraint graph. In this figure, the second figure just shows the vertical constraint graph of the figure. Okay, P1 and P2, there is a connection towards a connection to 2 from P1. It is denoted by the arrow mark. Okay, here just go look on to the example. In this figure, the figure 9.8 shows an example problem that will be used in to illustrate this vertical constraint graph example. Okay, so here just go through the connection. The Figure A shows a simple channel routing problem. First figure is the problem figure, and then in the second one, it shows the vertical constraint graph based on individual column. Okay. Okay, that is just denoting the values 3a. In the first line, first column we represent it as a, second b up to h. Okay, so from first column 3 to 1a, then 2 in the top and bottom 2 is common, so 2b is on the top side. Similarly, okay, that is the vertical constraint considered separately for each of the column A to H, that is represented using this figure 9.8b. Okay, so in the figure C, if we merge all the vertices, okay, The vertical if one merges all the vertices associated with the same next, it is shown on this 9.8c. Okay, so starting from 4 to 3 there is a connection, from 3 8 to 1 there is a connection, from 3 to 1, then from 1 to 2 there is a connection, right? Also the next thing is from 4 to 1 there is a connection, that is represented in the figure C, and the resultant solution is denoted, the connection solution is denoted in the fourth figure. Okay, this is the graph constraint, vertical constraint graph. An example of this is shown in this figure also, how we have to draw this vertical constraint graph. Okay, hope you understand the topic. If you have any doubt you can ask me, and hope you understand. Thank you dear students.